cool with this?
Yes.
Robby Rackleff.
I got it.
The amazing weird dude. I'm so pumped to meet you.
That's me here, not that over there.
Yeah, it's always very funny when I start these interviews, because I always kind of, because I'm not a professional. And so what I do is I'm very much like, oh, are you comfortable? Is everything cool? Like, do you want to not talk about something, whatever? So it's like, I've been talking to you for like 10 minutes and we have already bonded over so much stuff, like just in 10 minutes of talking. So then I have to like pretend to start again. But what I wanted to say to record was that, so I spent all night last night going through like your videos from like many years.
Oh, wow.
Because because I was like, well, I've seen your stuff, but like, I wanted to really get a sense of it because of you, because I realized that my head is kind of up my own ass most of the time, because I'm like looking for I'm like, what am I into? Whatever. And so I'm like, oh, I'm making comics now. I'm doing a film. And like, I'm so busy with my own stuff that like, I sometimes am missing really important things. So what I noticed was about your films, that we were just talking about being distracted by, the internet and stuff, but like, the nuances of like the neurosis and anxiety that is connected to these sort of small, meaningless moments of our life.
Yeah.
Where it's like, and let me just tie this together by saying, I feel like as humans, as human beings, we are totally connected to the elements that make up our environment, right?
Sure.
So that's why when, a child is around like psychotic parents, they grow up to be like really disturbed and shit or whatever. Or if like one parent is a little bit anxious, like the kid is like, oh, okay, I'm going to be like that. So,
right.
But the thing is, I feel like anxieties and depressions and all this stuff, and a lot of the of these like nuanced psychoses and everything, are because we're not super busy just surviving. Like, we have all this time to like worry about things, to trip out about shit, to do, so that's why I stay super busy. But like, when cavemen and primitive people or like settlers were doing their thing, they were only preoccupied with living another day. Whatever. So it leaves little room for us to be like, dude, when I go to my 20-year high school reunion, I'm going to look awesome, or whatever, like whatever the thing is. So I was struck by the levels of that in some of your work, where I was like, like the editing stuff, but also mixed with like the subject matter. I was really impressed with it, because we do live in like the tyranny of convenience, our whole lives, everything is, so what do you think about that?
I love that. And honestly, okay. So a lot of those early videos that I was making in like kind of the 2009 to 13 era of my life were definitely a reaction to feeling this constant tension I was feeling between a deep-seated rock hard desire to become a boring adult, just as warm toast as possible. Okay. And then also living in punk houses and like running shows and being a bouncer at a bar and like just like this thing, and making videos in my living room with a green screen that I purchased off of eBay for $15 and hung from the ceiling every time I wanted to create a story of me wandering in a fantasy world. And that constantly was a struggle that I had for about 5 years before I was like, I let the adult thing kind of take over for a little while. And I was just, let's see what this feels like. And I started to focus in more on trying to become a college art teacher. And that was the worst mistake I ever made in my entire life. Because it was the most soul crushing, frustrating, just sad period, because so much of it was just me struggling to piece together 3 classes a semester. That was the goal, was to have 3 classes a semester. That's a part-time teaching job. I felt like I could do it. I felt like I was smart enough for it. And I would occasionally hit that mark, and it would just like the drain of teaching those classes, even though I love the kids and I love the subject matter and I love doing art education, it was just so much work. And at the end of it, I was just like constantly feeling, I guess I just felt like my mind was melting. And I've had several nervous breakdowns over my life, I feel like. But the craziest part was I just got obsessed with Swiffers. Like I was just constantly looking up Swiffers or Swiffer-like objects, just like something that was like, your life is so complex and stupid and stressful. And here's one thing that's just you put a pad on it and you just like go across the room with it, and the house is clean and the apartment looks great. You look like an adult lives here. And the simplicity of that hope was really driving me for a long time. So I just made a lot of Swiffer art.
Okay. So so this makes sense, because I often find myself doing ultra mundane things in order to sustain some sort of semblance of like normalcy, or I don't know. Sometimes it's like, this is bringing a balance or a stability to my life that I just don't feel like I really have. And so it's like very in the moment, you know, like,
absolutely.
Like I started getting into this thing where, if I was feeling very out of, like, unstable and out of touch, I would go buy a Whopper, Impossible Whopper from Burger King, which I just don't. It's just like, what? Like, I hadn't eaten at Burger King in like 25 years or something. Yeah. I was like, oh, this feels like, it's like performance art, like being a normal person, like a citizen of the world.
Absolutely. Actually, one of the things I used to do when I would come back home, so I used to go teach at this college this community college near Annapolis, and I didn't own a car, and I had to take the Baltimore light rail to its final stop, and then take an hour-long bus ride to the college. Mm-hmm. And then whenever I would come back, there was a McDonald's right at that train station, and I hadn't eaten McDonald's in like 15 years. But I ate McDonald's every day. I took the train home from that work, because it just felt like it grounded me in something that I can't quite rightly describe.
Yeah. You know what? I will add to that story by saying that, I taught art before I taught art, or was an art advocate at a school, like for developmental disabilities, like adults. Mm-hmm. I worked with what is considered the profound range of disabilities, disabled adults, for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And there was in the morning, there was this student named Steven who I loved him, but he was angry, and he was profoundly, he was disconnected. He was just like in his own world. He was super angry, but in the mornings, I would go pick him up. I would stop by McDonald's and get a hash brown. Mm-hmm. Those hash browns for him. And then after a while, he stopped attacking people in the morning when I So thank you, McDonald's.
Yeah, thank you, McDonald's.
Because I was like, what if maybe the thing that would help this situation, which I think is what we're talking about, is just a mild pleasantry, just something to get us by.
Yes. It's like a weird little acceptance. It's just like you can just have this one little trifle.
Yeah, can I just have one trifle, please, before I fucking go insane?
Yeah,
no,
one fish fillet.
But like the thing that I think is so funny is that what I've noticed about I've been thinking about, I was doing the dishes the other day, and I was thinking about you, and I was thinking about Alan, and I was thinking about Sarah, and I was thinking about Tim and Eric, and I was thinking about weird bands and weird performance artists that I know and all this stuff. And I started to like really think that it's like this sort of rebel absurdism where it's like, if we don't acknowledge how bizarre and soul crushing and strange the deluge of bullshit in the world that we live in, if we don't recognize it, then we too are going to get hypnotized by it and forget that it's bullshit. And so I was thinking about you guys, and I was like, because I live a very absurd life. I'm very privileged. I get to do art. I get to smoke pot. I listen to fucking Queen all the time. And I go work on my films, and I'm like, I'm like a people collector. I'm like, oh, you're weird. What can we do? Like whatever. Yeah. So I'm just like hanging out. So I feel like I'm safely tucked away from the hypnosis of like our mundane sort of, beliefs and stuff. But I think it's like really important what you guys are doing, and that I find myself completely overwhelmed by mundane conversations or just like interactions and stuff, to the point where I'm so kind of trippy now in a normal base level way that like, I notice that it's like kind of hard for me to just sort of be in a normal environment, because I'm like, hey, what's going on here, man? Look at all these people. Like, what is this conversation, man? This is weird. Like, and so it's like, I have to like remember like, oh, okay. Like just people who are very busy and they're stressed in their lives, and, and like, they're like, just like waiting to get their coffee so they can go to the job they hate and like all this stuff. So I don't know. I was watching that, the one that struck me, the video you did last night, or that I watched last night, it was the Rite Aid one. Oh yeah. And I was just thinking about, that was one of my very first ones. Dude, it's really good. It's because it's like being caught in the relentlessness of like just being in a Rite Aid is a horrible experience. Oh, absolutely. It's the opposite of nature. There was the Rite Aid that I would go to where I would pick up the dental floss. And the reason I picked up dental floss was because I couldn't afford dental care. So I had to make sure I like flossed every day, so I didn't have to go get fillings, which I had to do anyway. But I mean, I just have bad teeth, I guess. It's the Anglo-Saxon. I like them. I love your Anglo-Saxon ancestor teeth. Yeah. But it was like, people said there was some, gosh, I wish I remember where it was, but it was like the worst Rite Aid in America. It's like, oh my God. It was just like, there was never anyone at the cash registers. There was like sandwiched between two extremely busy roads, even though it was in a relatively densely packed area of Baltimore. So you kind of had to go there, but you have to like risk your life to go there. And then once you got there, you were stuck there for 45 minutes, no matter what, waiting for someone to check you out or just, in a fugue state, because the hypnosis of the lamps above you would just kind of put you into that state. You're just like, what am I doing? Yeah. I'm waiting to die. Like, am I going to spend $3 on Gatorade right now? Yes. Because your teeth need it. They need it. Exactly. So yeah, the worst Rite Aid in America is, I was watching, I was like, what's so funny is that it really is like, it is interesting. It's like, oh, you can't afford healthcare because we don't actually, America is like, we'll put culture and art last always, even though it thrives on that. It's a very hilarious mode, because America, it wants to be seen as like this cultural leader of the world, but will literally not give an artist $1 if they can. Anyway. So you're like, I can't get my teeth cleaned. You go to the Rite Aid, you risk getting killed on your way to the Rite Aid. And then you're at the Rite Aid, and then there's nobody at the cash register. Yeah. It's really, that is like American experience. But during the pandemic, you never did not forget that you were a filmmaker, an artist, and weird, funny person.
Yeah. I mean, I also during the pandemic had a child. So that was, I think a big, in some ways it's like a big energy sink, but it also is a big booster because you're like, I have this thing now and I love it and I want to take care of it. And I want to make sure it thinks that I am cool when it is at that stage and doesn't think I'm a complete loser. So I better keep getting my shit together.
Okay.
I mean, I feel like I have been honestly like I have not gotten my shit together yet. I'm still getting it together. Moving out to LA was part of that, but
okay. What does it look like? What does having your shit together look like?
I guess I don't really have an answer for that because I used to have,
you'll know when you get there.
Yeah, I know when I get there. I mean, I have, Jesus Christ. I don't know.
Messed you up by asking you that?
No, I think a little bit. I think it's just, feeling, I looked up to my parents and I want my son to look up to me. It's pretty much, that's how I feel.
That's kind of a lot of pressure, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Feeling like, it's like, I got to be cool.
Well, yeah, but my parents were imperfect people and they had their struggles. So I'm not like, I know that the bar is not insurmountable, but it's still, it is a driving feeling that takes
well, I think
over.
That's a beautiful idea that you want to like, you want something good for this kid.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it's definitely, it's an inspiration. He's an inspiration every day. I look at him when I get up at 6 a.m. before I come to the studio and I, take a good long look at him and I'm like, you're not going to think I'm a loser.
Wow. Can I just tell you that I'm not trying to psychoanalyze you too much or anything, because I think that everybody thinks that I'm doing that all the time.
Everyone around me psychoanalyzes me.
Okay. But this is what I want to say is that sometimes, and I do this to myself, is I will create a narrative in my mind. And then I will think that is the truth of it all.
Oh yeah.
And so when that doesn't work out, I'm devastated because now all of a sudden the truth is not true.
Right.
Okay? So if you can just be like, I'm wondering, like getting your shit together or being cool or like all these things, like it feels like potentially devastating future traps. You know what I mean? Sure.
Yeah.
Unless there's some sort of leeway, because for me, like we were talking before this, like I had like a lot of experiences where I had everything I'd been working for like 4 or 5 years fall apart.
Sure.
In like 6 months. My show, my virtual reality thing, my cartoon, my anthology film, my fucking every relationship I had, like everything I'd been building fell apart. But to me, those were all me getting my shit together. And that was all me being successful and building up and doing the thing and getting shit together and all this stuff. And it was like gone overnight. And I was extremely depressed. I was extremely like, well, guess I better get a job, Yeah. But what I realized is that over time, what happened was it was very necessary for my idea of getting my shit together to crumble and dissolve in order for my organic reality to kind of reveal itself.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate to that quite a lot. So I'll try to make this. This is a bit of an arc here, but it's sort of, I was making art, and I was making those videos that you watched on YouTube, and those were for art shows. And, I was trying to do the gallery show racket for a while, because, I was like, that'll lead towards being an art teacher, and then I'll be okay. And then I'll be an art teacher and I'll be okay. Mm-hmm. But essentially what happened was because teaching was such an all-encompassing, by the end, it was such an all-encompassing thing. I had stopped making art. I basically I can't even remember. I think the last video I made in that sort of body of work was something called Adult Occult. And that was like a 10-minute long, like meandering thing that I just didn't even I was like desperately trying to piece something together from just what I was feeling and what I was experiencing as, someone who was entering their 30s and like feeling completely unmoored. The real clincher happened when I was basically laid off from my teaching jobs, because the Affordable Care Act came into effect and basically caused all of these schools to limit the amount of classes that they would offer to adjunct teachers in a given year. Because if it was above a certain level, or I can't remember, it was like a certain amount of hours, they would have to offer them healthcare. And they're like, we're not doing that. So set them loose. So I had a real choice. I was like, am I gonna, this doesn't seem like it's panning out. So I need to do something crazy to like reset the whole thing. So I applied and joined the United States Navy. And
Robby, you're amazing. You're wild, dude. You're a wild guy. Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
So in like the span of about 4 years, I went from being someone who booked shows, who basically like booked shows at punk houses, to someone who was applying to become an intelligence, to work in the Office of Naval Intelligence.
Incredible.
And I went to boot camp. I was in boot camp for, I want to say, I can't remember if it was 2.5 or 3 months, but basically a bunch of crazy things happened in boot camp. I broke my foot, and then I had like a nervous breakdown and I was booted, and I was like, hey, I'm all broken up. Can I please leave? And they were like, we just want to make sure you're not going to kill yourself before you leave. So let's just hold on to you for a few more weeks, and then we'll kick you out, which they did.
Okay. So it was fine. They were like, all right, man, listen, we already got enough, like, art teacher types here, dude.
Yeah.
You ain't cut out, bud.
Pretty much. Yeah. They're like, your feet are too big. They don't fit in the boots. If you run around, your feet break. And when your feet break, you get real sad and like mopey, and we don't want that in the fleet anymore.
I love that. That you kind of, I feel like you have this sort of innate like sense of when things are not in the rhythm of what you should be doing. Your body and your mind is kind of like, nope.
Yeah.
Like like being an art teacher is like, oh, I'm going to be an art teacher. This is going to be cool. And then it was like, nope.
Yeah. I'm going to do like Stuxnet and like hack the Iranian nuclear program to keep us from going to war. Nope.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
God, imagine if you would have gotten in there, and then you would have been like the hacker supreme. And then you would have hacked. Can you hack like crazy? Are you good?
No,
hacking?
I can't. No.
So you hack hardcore hacker. You stop, and then you become this like world peace, like fucking, that would have been insane.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to do that in the next episode.
Okay.
But okay.
So I basically, once I got booted out of the Navy and, or booted myself out, or, it was a collaboration. Yeah. And the first thing that happened was Tina and Alan and I wrote unedited footage of a bear, which was the thing that got, kind of got us a lot of work from then on out.
Yeah.
So it was just like, as far as believing in the work of heaven and angels, it seemed somewhat destiny sort of reared its head for me a little bit.
Well, I kind of feel like just the fact that you had these cool friends that you could collaborate with, it was like a really safe place to go for you creatively, and that it's like a home for you.
Yeah.
I mean, so you got to do that. Like, I mean, that's sort of like, that kind of feels like that's the hero's journey for you, is like trying this, trying this, trying this, and then just being like, oh, my friends.
Yeah,
oh, cool
exactly.
People.
And they were like, and of course everybody was just like, yeah, we've been here the whole time. You've just been ignoring us.
Yeah. But you had to go through that.
I did. Yeah.
You're so much stronger for it.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I feel really, I mean, I'm really lucky because it's we all, not just Ian and Alan, but also Ben O'Brien and Cricket Harrison, we all moved out here together, and like, some things have worked out and some things haven't, but we've all stayed really close and really supportive of one another. And it's been, moving to LA is really hard. It can be very callous and cynical place, and coming here with a bunch of like punky East Coasters really helped a lot.
Well, you have your crew, and we have a crew. And like, I think that's really important, is finding people who are in the same, like a strong unit, and like the A-team.
Absolutely.
And so you guys are together. That's cool. So, okay. So the unedited footage of a bear, how much of your anxiety and stuff was pumped into that? Because that's a very anxious, facing yourself kind of.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay.
I mean, honestly, it was like, going back to the writing process, it's hard to pinpoint. Like, I will say that, so the scene in unedited footage of a bear, where there's the woman is driving past a crime scene, and she sees a cop crying on the street, and that's me. That was literally me just first time processing like everything that had happened to me the year before.
Yeah.
Like literally
so you were really crying.
I was really crying. Like I had to, I couldn't, like, I was like, I'll make myself cry. And then I just like started crying, and then I just like couldn't stop for 30 minutes. And I was just like, I guess I probably should see a therapist.
Yeah. Do you see that? Well, I think that's beautiful that you allowed yourself to be able to do that.
And I was and I was also with, these people who I'm really close to. So I felt comfortable and
well, I love that about you, that you're able to do that. Like, you found yourself in a position to be able to have that catharsis, and you just went for it. A lot of people don't, so you're letting yourself go.
I didn't know that was a real cat until just now.
Oh, this?
Yeah.
She's a
I thought you had like a weird cattail pen that you were kind of like,
oh, this is a real cat. This is a demon child from the streets. But are you able to see any therapists now or anything like that?
Unfortunately not since I've gotten to LA, because the ability to track down someone who takes my insurance and can see me on a regular basis and is in walking and or public transit distance from my house is just not tenable. But I have other things that I do. I go on long walks. I do take meds, which works for me. Yeah. And I have my son keeps me really active too. So it's like I don't really have as much time to just like sit and like count the number of days that are passing before death inevitably takes me. In Baltimore, I used to, when I was first starting to make some money, and I really would, when I was kind of like having these waves of depression, I would just go on like long train trips. I would take just like Amtrak across country and just like sit and read and write and look out the window. And it was like, that was something that I've always had like weird little, I guess, self-care routines that involved trains.
That's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. That sounds good. Yeah, I think therapy is super important. I do a Zoom. I
Yeah.
Zoom it up. But yeah, I think it's important to constantly be processing
Mm-hmm.
because at first it's overwhelming. The
Oh
feeling,
yeah.
the neurosis, because you're trying to get to know yourself in a way that's a little bit underneath a lot of the noise, the static and stuff of
Mm-hmm.
thoughts and feelings and neurosis, anxiety, anticipation, depression. And I find that I got on Prozac during the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
I had been like chronically depressed my whole life, whatever. So, and then getting into therapy, and I realized there's this sort of place underneath all my symptoms and bad feelings and horribleness that is
Mm-hmm.
like a place where I can start like from, okay, I'm okay, I'm fine, I'm okay. I
Mm-hmm.
can kind of pull myself back, but I don't think that I've been would have been able to get there without like therapy. But
Yeah.
maybe that's because I don't go on enough walks or something. You have to get
Yeah.
out. You have to
Yeah.
you have to move. You have to go
Yeah.
see another thing because it's like cognitively dislodges you from your like train of thought if you're just doing the same thing over and over again.
Definitely. I mean,
But
I
go
did
ahead.
spend like a couple of years in therapy when I was in Baltimore. I had a really great therapist, and she really, I mean, she knew that I was coming out here, and she knew that it was going to be kind of difficult to land somebody. So she just kind of like walked me through a lot of pretty simple exercises and techniques, and I had a bit of a rough start, but I got into a swing of it. I mean, I used to also go to the gym a lot, which I can't do as much anymore, but that was a big thing for me.
Yeah, that does work. Exercising is huge.
Yes.
For that stuff.
Yes. Especially gyms around here, because you see some real characters and you're like, you know what? Maybe I'm not so bad.
yeah, that's a good. Yeah, maybe I've got it. I'm okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'm a little bit more grounded than I realize.
Right. So
go to the Planet Fitness at the Burbank Airport and see if you don't feel a little bit better about yourself.
The Burbank Airport. Oh my God! Just go to the Burbank Airport. And feel better. So wait. Okay. So what? So how does this lead to Dance Freak?
Well, that's a great. Well, I mean, a lot of that stuff is kind of a lot of the stuff that we just kind of step through is kind of in there. But in the sort of the bleakest point of the pandemic, when stuff was falling through, things were like, not just the shutdown, but just like we had gotten a lot of work through the Adult Swim streaming department, and that kind of the plug got pulled on that overnight. So all of a sudden I was just like, I don't have anything to do. I don't have, we had The Dream, which was greenlit and was, on its way to production. But of course the production got pushed back as everybody was figuring out what the COVID protocols were going to be. So I knew that was going to be some time. So I just started writing something. I wrote this like kind of crazy stream of consciousness action movie that, 130 page script, 50 characters, just like everything I could think of, every just literally just trying to get every single thing out of my mind that I could to just feel like I had made something. And I was like, maybe I'll pitch this at some point in the future. And I still have that script, obviously, but it's like when I look at it, I'm just like, if this ever gets made, this is like beyond anything that I could justify. I could basically bring to someone and be like, can you give me $10 million for this? And they would be like, absolutely not. Please leave.
Yeah.
Why did you come here?
Yeah.
That sort of lives on a shelf as a kind of 1.5 year long self-therapy exercise. But at the same time I was doing that, I started this joining this movie watching club on Twitch with some people, and we basically watching a lot of like B and C grade horror films that were very inspirational. And I started talking to Alan about like, hey, maybe we should just like make a weird little horror movie. I'll just write a script and it'll just be fun and we'll do it. My studio mate is here. It's Ben. Hi, Ben.
Okay. What's up, Ben?
It's Skinner.
What's up, Ben? How you doing, buddy? All right.
So yeah, that was, and I was like, well, how are we going to let's just crowdfund it. Let's see let's pull that trigger. Just like crowdfunding has always felt like a gun on a table that you can reach and pick up at any point and pull the trigger. And like, maybe the gun fires like several bullets and you have a really good time, or maybe it like backfires and like blinds you. So I decided that maybe now it's time to pick up the gun and pull the trigger.
Yes, it does feel, it is. I will say that it's, if you're an artist, you're a creative, you never, it's almost like, if it doesn't work, it's so much more devastating in some capacity than if you were jumping through hoops to try to submit something to somebody else, because then you could always be like, well, whatever, fuck it, but like, I know when I crowdfunded my comic, I was very afraid, and but I was also in a position where I was like, well, everything else did not work.
Yeah.
And why would I cultivate a relationship with the public unless I was going to do something about it? Really? Yeah,
absolutely.
And so I was like, well, I guess I'll just try. And it went pretty good. I mean, it was exceptionally positive. I really got into the like communicating with the public instead of communicating with the art director or like some A&R, whatever, like somebody who like doesn't really care about me that much. And so I was like, wow, this feels good. It's reciprocal. So I think that it's really cool that you're doing this, because I feel like it's kind of the start of something amazing.
Well, I appreciate that. I want to add something to that. The try to get away from the gun metaphor for a little while.
Okay, well, good.
But in my mind, I was like, I'll set this up. I'll set this page up. We'll do some decent amount of promoting at the top of it, and then people will start to regularly give us money, and then I'll just like be able to have time to finish, developing and finish writing the script, tightening it up, getting ready to shoot it. And what's happened is that I'm just like constantly on the internet promoting it now, which is not something I'm good at. It's not something I like doing, but at the same time, it's a necessary thing. And it is, we're doing okay now. So that's it. It's paid off. All that time spent looking at Instagram insights.
It's brutal.
Yeah. I had this moment where I had set up an Instagram account for the movie just so we can have an easy update vehicle, and started following people kind of all over the place. I ended up like following an ex-girlfriend of mine from high school.
Yes, of course.
And I was just like, did the thing that you're never, ever supposed to do. Following the ex-girlfriend from high school from your weird little indie movie, your little sub $100,000 budget indie movie. And then like looking at her account and being like, oh, she got like married to this like cool rich guy who like is like a lawyer for like a Chinese firm, and like they live in a big house in like Northern Virginia now. They have 3 kids, and it's just like, oh fuck, like all those.
Right,
like,
but you gotta add, but he's probably got some money. Like, hey, does he want to? This is a sick class move. And I'd be like, hey, long time no see. Hey, sorry about high school. Hey, listen. I noticed that your husband, like, he's got to be into art, right? You guys got to love art, right? Listen, I need a cool grand. Yeah. I need 10 grand actually. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't have identified so many characteristics, because someone could probably backfill the rest of that form. But I will say
that this is not the Joe Rogan podcast.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about me. But
I will say that like after having that little moment for myself, I was driving around the neighborhood. I was driving to take my son to a playground, and I saw this executive who will remain unnamed, who I've pitched to many times over the years. I just saw him on the street. And I was just like, I would rather deal with every ex-girlfriend from high school or beyond and in this capacity than ever have to talk to that person, to that dead-eyed executive ever again.
Yeah, I agree with you because there is something extremely existentially dehumanizing about spending so much time existing outside of the status quo in this really, really cool creative art zone where it's like, you know, it requires a kind of spiritual mental strength to maintain it. Because the whole world wants you to just adhere to the rules constantly. Yes. So you're just like, I'm fighting, I'm staying here, I'm being creative, I'm following, I'm in my truth. I'm trying really hard to exist in a world that wants to squish me down, whatever. And it's like, all of a sudden you have to then present the product of your experiences, which is this weird thing, this beautiful baby, to a dead-eyed executive who doesn't care about anything. You know, it's like, okay, how is this working? So, I mean, the fact that you arrived at this place where I would rather risk everything on my own in this other way than to do this is sort of the necessary bridge that needed to be built, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's just like, what level of pride are you willing to put on the chopping block? But it's definitely, I don't know. I've also, I won't say it's to that particular person. I will not change my statement, but I will say that I have had like really good executives and like really helpful people that have really shepherded projects and like given us a lot of insights into the process that have helped us kind of just be a little bit more understanding of like what makes something successull in whatever format we're writing for. And,
right, which is very little that you need in order to move things forward. It's like all they have to do is give you a few little nuggets, which is nurturing you as creatives that they could then they're then like establishing a relationship with somebody. Instead of just being like, jump through the mystery hoops. Maybe I'll like it. Maybe I won't. Anyways, I'm not going to return your email.
Yeah. Jump through the mystery hoops is pretty good. I like that. Yeah. It just like, there's kind people and then there's people who will like hide mystery hoops all around you.
Yeah. Well, they're going to get a mystery knuckle bond me. Pretty soon. I'll do the bond me, the knuckle bond me. You just watch. Okay.
Yeah.
And then judge how good I do.
I think you do pretty well. You got that.
I am just so full of rage that these guys don't know.
You got that wiry Irish look to you.
Oh yes, I'm strong. I'm a wiry potato. I'm like the potato Hulk. I'm gonna go wild on these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
No. You're like, a conversation is going weird.
We're turning into we're gonna become violent people now. That's honestly what that Dan Freak is about. It's just getting so frustrated with your life that you become a terrible, violent, elemental being.
You know, I like this. I don't know much about the film, but watching the video, I'm like, I'm in 1,000%. I believe in you. I believe in you, Robby.
Yeah.
I really do. That's why I was like, I want to sign me up for the art. I love it. I want to get, I really like things that even by participating in a parallel way is shaking me out of my normal mode, you know? And I appreciate that. I appreciate it as like, you're an example for somebody who like me, who considers themselves a little wacky, a little weird or whatever, but I'm not like some avant-garde, you know, like, dude. So I was like, well, let me get weird in a way I'm not comfortable with. So
absolutely.
So I like that.
I mean, well, the driving, the one thing that has remained consistent throughout adulthood when I've thought about like what I want to make and like what's the real reason why I'm making it is to basically like find something make something that if I found it when I was at the loneliest period of my life, when I was like, 12 to 14, like if I found that in some way for myself, like how that would make me feel less lonely. Like it'd just be like when I found Adult Swim for the first time, when I found, like, I was just like, I saw something and I was like, there are people out here that are, or like Scud the Disposable Assassin. It's just like something that was just like, there's people out here who think like I do. And they're like out there and they're actually like making things. And they're like, I'm seeing like all of these anxiety, or not anxieties, but just like all of these interests and things that I feel like I can't ever talk about being reflected back at me for the first time. And it's like, it's organic. It doesn't feel contrived.
Yeah. It's like you are, in a way, you're making something for the inner part of yourself that's felt lonely most of its life.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, brother.
Thank you. It's my, it's like, I remember I was such a big X-Men kid, and the X-Men comic that I come back to when I think about the X-Men, the thing that I think about the most is there's a somewhere between the Fatal Attraction story arc and the legacy virus thing. I can't remember. There is a issue where it's just the X-Men hanging out at their house on Thanksgiving. I think it's like Uncanny X-Men 300 or something like that. Right. And it's just like them, they like play football, like Sabretooth is in the basement for some reason, but it's not really a thing.
Right.
It's just like this very sweet and simple like series of vignettes. And I was just like, I want to make something that I just want to make things that make me feel in the end, even if it's like a scary, crazy horror movie which is really violent and weird. At the very end, I just like want to have that same like feeling of being like, this is just like, this was made, this is just like there's a spiritual connection here that I can't really like, that I haven't been able to find before.
Well,
I started strong on that and kind of rambled off.
No. I think that you just need me to do the psychoanalyzing, right?
Yeah.
No, what it is like, I think what I'm noticing is that is comfort, stability, and connection in a like-minded way in a place that is protected from the world.
Yes.
That's what you needed when you left the Navy. That's what you found with your friends.
Yeah.
And that's what you are trying to do with yourself with Dance Freak.
Yes.
Is you are now trying to create the Thanksgiving X-Men experience with yourself on various spiritual levels.
Yes. Yeah. And
emotional levels, I guess.
Yes. And Dance Freak is just the cornerstone on which the church will be built.
Well, which X-Men am I?
Oh boy. That's a great question.
Colossus, man. Come on, give me Colossus.
I feel like, I mean, Colossus is great, but I don't know enough about your backstory to say if you're Colossus or not.
Gambit. Baby.
Gambit was my first kind of feel.
Because I'm kind of a loner. I have a hard time. I have a hard time connecting. So I would be like somebody who'd come and go a little bit.
But I don't know much of a I guess a rampant womanizer you are. So
not at all. No.
Yeah. So it can't be. So that can't be you.
Cancel Gambit. Gambit. Cancel.
Beast maybe. Beast is a good one.
It's a little too smart. I'm a little
too smart.
Dumb side.
Archangel. Loner.
Archangel after he gets the metal wings. Hell yeah.
All right, there we go.
I will cleave the meat from your bones.
I know that there's in the expanded X-Men family, when you take in like all the other teams, there's probably a better like, what about New Mutants robot mutant character, to Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh wait, the weird freaking crazy dude that's all he's like black chunks.
Yeah.
What's his name? I like him. I could be him.
Who is that? Why can't I think of his name? Is it even him? Is it? It's like Blort or something.
Yeah, Blort. I'm Blort. That's what I've been trying to be Blort since I was little.
Yeah.
Your favorite X-Men, Blort.
Yeah. Oh, Warlock.
Warlock. That's it.
Yes. Odd name.
I don't know. How about this? We'll become
Long Shot.
Oh, Long Shot. I like that. Yeah.
I'm actually going to go with Long Shot.
Okay, I'll take Long Shot. That's cool. Four Fingers.
Yes, and he also exists in like these weird parallel dimensions and like I think that fits you quite well. I'm actually proud of that one.
Yeah, I like that. I'll take that.
Yeah, I'll get you. I'll make sure to get you a Long Shot T-shirt at some point in your life.
Oh yeah, draw it for me. But listen, I think that you're creating your X-Men Thanksgiving situation through this film. It's going to expand. I'm really pumped on this. I can't wait until I'm going to keep everybody. By the way, if you're listening to this, please throw in some money for God's sake. I did the cool illustration. It's going to be a black and or a glow in the dark screen print. It's beautiful. You need to get this. It's also kind of amorphous enough that it just says Dance Freak with a weird art thing on it. So it's not like, it doesn't say like movie or anything. Like you can be like, I am a dance freak.
Absolutely.
And throw in some money on this thing because it's going to be a masterful work of art. I think I'm ready. I mean,
it's going to be something. I don't know if it'll be a masterful work of art, but it's going to be feature length and it's going to be in black and white and it's called Dance Freak.
Length. So that's 80 minutes. Is that what that is?
70 to 80. Well, yeah, let's say 80 to be safe.
How about 70 minutes and then 10 minutes of credits?
Just 10 minutes of Stavros.
You know who told me about that is so I've been working on this thing with Phil Tippett. He's been helping and we've been like messing around on stuff and he goes, you should make it your film and feature length film. And I was like, dude, that's so long. He's like 80 minutes. And he's like, yeah, but you know what you could do is just make 10 minutes of it, credits and bloopers and outtakes and all. He said that he did that on like some movie, like some famous movie. And I was like, really? He's all, yeah, that's all considered part of the film. So just keep that in mind. I don't know. It kind of sounds sketchy. Like to me, I don't know if I could do it, but
maybe something like just a TV show that you watch for 10 minutes in the middle of the movie for no reason.
There you go.
Did you ever play that video game, The Darkness?
It's based on the Top Cow comic by Alan or what's his name?
I want to say it's
Mark Silvestri.
Is it Mark Silvestri?
Mark Silvestri created The Darkness.
Okay, yeah. There's in the early part of the game. You have an option to watch the entirety of the movie To Kill a Mockingbird.
Why? That's weird.
It's just like a thing you can do. It's like you're with your girlfriend and you're sitting on the couch and you're like, hey, do you want to watch To Kill a Mockingbird?
They snuck that in there.
It's a really weird. I love that choice. I think about it all the time because they just
you never played the game. You only watched that movie.
I guess like the film distribution company was just like, we'll just license To Kill a Mockingbird for like indie developer for like $5,000.
Yes. Well, we could do it. To Kill a Mockingbird. Let me ask you a question now.
Sure.
I feel like, so first of all, I want to talk to you about this film about Jade, about my friend Jade, the comedian with the robot arm.
Oh, right. Yes.
An assassin. I'm going to make that anyways, but have you seen that movie called The Pit?
No.
Dude, I really, really recommend it. It's kind of terrible, but it's kind of perfect.
Is it a newer movie or is it old?
No, it's old. It's old. It's on Shudder, I think. But it's about a boy. He's about 12 and he's weird. Not many people like him. Strange kid, looks great, weird face. And he finds a pit out in the forest. And there are these strange, like trolls down there, troglodyte like creatures, like lost to time or whatever. They're just, and it's just a hole in the ground. And they're just down there. And he goes, what are they doing down there? They're hungry. So he goes and he gets some meat from the butcher and he starts throwing meat down there and they love it. And he goes, oh, okay. They like meat. That's what they eat. And then he just starts to throw people down there that he doesn't like.
Yeah.
A girl that was mean to him, his babysitter, an old woman in a wheelchair, like and I was like, dude, this movie is incredible. Like, and it kind of keeps going. But anyway, I think that you should watch that film. I know this is like totally non sequitur, but I watched it the other night and I was like, it's the premise is so perfect and simple and not like, and just whatever. And I was like, I really think that like, films in a lot of ways are, they sometimes strike you in this way where you're like, oh, this is a metaphor for life or something.
Well, I was just thinking about how they're in the sort of the mid 80s, that sort of era of horror movies, they're mid 80s, early 90s. There's just like there's several that are just like, there's a hole.
Yeah. Well, it's like there's a hole, but like neglected children, like nobody's keeping track of them at all. There's demons, there's portals, there's holes. And it was like Monster Squad. Like, guess it's up to the kids.
Yeah.
You know, The Gate, you know, guess it's up to the kids. Like, you know, like, and I just really, The Pit, you know, there's a whole, but like E.T. or like everything was about children where the parents could not be bothered.
Yes.
To witness their kids' lives at all. And it was interesting because like when I look back on it, I don't know how old you are. I'm 44. But when I was young, I remember our parents being like ultra preoccupied with their like stupid lives. They're just totally meaningless, like not caring about anything. And like nobody had a dad. I remember it was just sort of like parents were this sort of like, they might come around, but they probably won't. But then like, it was sort of like, okay, now go out into the nature or something.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that my parents were at all neglectful or anything like that, but when I was, I was born in Washington, D.C., but I grew up in northern Florida. And the first place that we lived in Florida was in this weird little, basically like an unincorporated township called Lloyd, which we had this big, like crazy house from like the 1800s. And the backyard was like train tracks. And then beyond the train tracks was just unimpenetrable swamp and jungle. So I would just like wander to the edge of like a very dank tannin swamp and just stand at the edge of it and just be like, I could walk into that and die right now.
Wow.
And I would just like think about, and I would just feel like there's alligators in there. There's definitely snakes. It's probably some like weird there's probably like red wolves around here. I think there was still red wolves in North Florida in the 80s, but
snapping
just
turtles.
Like snapping turtles. Definitely a lot of those horrible looking things. The ones with like the weird little like,
the soft shell ones.
Yeah. I hate those things.
Nasty They're really hideous.
Yeah. Wipe them
out. God was very disturbed that day.
Yeah.
Who would make that?
He was like, I created these wonderful turtles and now everybody loves the turtles. But turtle, the one kind of turtle that everyone will like look at and be like, I don't know.
Yeah. I would point to that turtle and be like, your God made this.
Yeah. They always ended up getting like smushed on the.
You saw those being smushed?
I saw them like, cause there's like a country road that, just sort of like highway, but it was like it was like one of those like roads between highways, like the interstate and like the state road. And then this longer stretch that people would just barrel through. So you'd always see just the craziest roadkill on that. Oof. Like something out of like Pet Cemetery or something like that kind of traffic.
Right. And then the soft turtles come back and that ain't nothing. And I'll tell you what, that ain't nothing nice.
Yeah.
And those
and they all live. They also like when my family ended up like, we started to live more in Tallahassee and like that became like where that's where I went to high school and everything. There's stormwater ponds all throughout Tallahassee and they're just sick with those things. Yeah. And they're just like drinking nasty, gross runoff water, fertilizer, just
Ooh,
secret
damn,
views.
this is the next movie.
I guess so.
Damn. Well,
You ever see Frogs?
No.
You should check out Frogs.
All right.
It's a horror movie from like the 70s.
I want to start a movie watching club now. I want to be in it. Is that still going?
Yeah. I haven't been able to join on the last few weeks because I've been focusing on getting the movie funded. But it's let's see. What's the last movie that we watched on there was it was the last movie that I saw was based on that true crime book called Say You Love Satan.
Oh,
remember that?
No.
Oh,
Say You Love Satan, Frogs. I got my work cut out for me.
Yeah, there's a true crime book called Say You Love Satan, and these people in upstate New York got like a Mexican gangster to like fund a movie version of it, and it's real weird. Very boring until it is all of a sudden very not boring.
We got to get some gangsters involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That's where all the money is.
Okay. So the Dance Freak, it's getting funded now. Everybody needs to jump on that. It's going to be the best.
We've got 2
You're
more
going to
weeks.
let me die in it? Is that the deal?
I can't reveal too much about what's going to happen to you, but you might not be alive.
Okay, well, I'm fitting to live. I like to live because I want to be in the sequels.
Yes,
but I'll be as a ghost too if you want. No problem.
All right. We'll figure out something maybe we'll just like have your head on a pike or something.
Yeah,
the Dance Freaks Castle Grayskull.
I will get really buff if you want. By the way, I've been looking for an excuse.
Stay exactly how you are. You're perfect the way you are. Yeah, stay potato. Yeah.
All right, Robbie. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah, me too.
I really appreciate
me too.
I really appreciate your time, and we're gonna keep pumping until this thing is fully funded.
Yeah.
Very soon.
Well, I'm gonna probably have to come up to Oakland, take the train up to Oakland to pick up the posters when they're ready. So hopefully I'll be able to shake your hand.
Or maybe I'll drive them down.
Or whatever.
Yeah, let's figure it out. But I'm gonna sign them.
Yes.
All right. Okay, everybody, go support this movie ASAP. Follow
2 more weeks of funding. 2 more weeks of funding.
Hell yeah.
That's the only promotion I know how to do.
We're gonna on.
Time's running out. Time's running out. We're all dying. Please help.
Enjoy.